Alright, just to address the elephant in the room right at the start of the video, yes, I was wrong about the chapter being Springtrap. What I also really don't care is two of my other predictions. One being that trial-specific items would return, think Nemesis vaccines. And two, that Pinhead, if he were to come to the game, would hit you with multiple hooks to gradually slow you down. Both of those turned out to be true, so I feel pretty good about myself if I'm being honest. And even without that, many times I've said that Pinhead could make a good killer. So yeah, if you want to go parade around in my comments bragging, go right ahead, but just remember it will never fill the void she left in your heart. Anyways. After playing as and against Pinhead almost all day, I think I've got a pretty good idea as to how he plays, and he's got some good potential, not gonna lie. He's got some things that are really strong, but a lot more things about him are kinda weak. In general, I think he's a little underpowered and is maybe like a high to mid C tier if I had to put him on a tier list that you know will be popping up all over YouTube in about 3 weeks. But he can also be made into a good killer pretty easily. First, I think his anti-loop is actually kinda weak, especially on maps like Midwich and Larry's, and big surprise, Haddonfield, where there are a lot of walls and tall objects to allow you to instantly remove the chain and prevent the chains from reattaching themselves. Even on lower loops, depending on the angle, you can often just crouch and break some if not all your chains. However, since I want this video to be a constructive video and just not some loser whining on the internet, I'd like to propose an idea that now the chains use the Deathslinger style mechanic, where the freeing speed is increased when an object is between you and the portal. However, with this change, I'd also like to see the maximum amount of times that a chain will try and reattach to the survivor after the environment helps break it decreased, as it would be a little unfair if it remained the same. I also think that the World of Pain event is a little underwhelming, since the hooks are really easy to dodge and almost always miss you whenever you're just running normally anyways. So what I would suggest is a simple ramp up, where the longer the event is active, the faster and more accurate the hooks become. This ramp up should be slower the less survivors are alive, and pause whenever a survivor is down, just to prevent some kind of crazy, unfair mass slugging situation. To clarify, I think the ramp up should pause, but not the event itself. Building off of the idea of the World of Pain ramp up, I'd like to see a greater reward for actually finding the box as Pinhead, since right now it's really not that great. I feel like making the World of Pain event start with a 10% head start into the ramp up would be a simple and easy way to make this feel a little more rewarding. Or adding an Oni Blood Orb style aura onto the box might also work. However, I could totally see that being too strong, and I know you can hear the sparkling, but that's hard to hear over sounds like generators, chase music, and other auditory distractions, so some other way of finding it might be a good change. Also, Pinhead in his current state gets stomped harder than somebody who got caught saying racial slurs at a church's chicken if the survivors bring a flashlight, since they can blind him whenever he's using his portal. Right now, in almost all situations, as a survivor, it's actually beneficial for you to try and get hit by a hook if it means you can get the blind on him. Since you can break the hooks without using the environment before he can recover from the blind, you can actually, especially around loops, it's actually a really safe play to make. My suggestion to fix this is just to add a small flashlight blinding protection to Pinhead while he's using the portal, just so that he has a better chance to use his portal and or look away if he's fast enough. I think this counterplay is a good interaction, but it is a little survivor-sided at the moment. I think this change would help balance it out a bit. Another note is that some of his add-ons are kinda lackluster at best. For example, Chatterer's Tooth is an add-on that actively harms you in my opinion, as it stops chain hunts whenever you pick up a box, and the duration of Undetectable is so limited that you rarely have time to sneak up to a survivor unless it's an inside or very small map. Increasing the duration to 20 seconds would be a good change that might make the add-on worth the very rare status and price. And I'm not sure how they would implement this, but I kinda like an add-on that forces survivors to drop their items when hit by a chain, with a fairly decent cooldown and or drawback. That way you can speedily take back the puzzle box without having to run Franklin's demise, or commit to downing the survivor. My last negative point is a bit of a nitpick. However, in my opinion, the Terror Radius music while playing a survivor is really underwhelming, to say the least, especially at the further ranges. On the killer side it's fine, but as a survivor I can often hear the heartbeat way better than I can hear the music. And yes, I see the irony in me talking about bad audio quality. I'd also like to see if they could nerf the shininess of his head, because you can see this man across the map with that lighthouse of a forehead. Like, oh my, I was playing on Swamp once, and I was on the pier, and I could see him running around the edge of the map all the way across the map, chasing a Yui. Like, I don't know about that one, Chief. One kind of neutral change I'd like to see, which is really just kind of a personal preference change, is I'd like to see the puzzle box interaction on the survivor side have the normal skill checks replaced with the yellow glyph style check system, as I just think it's more representative of trying to solve a puzzle. And I want that interaction to be not locked behind a tome challenge, because it's actually really fun. That's really all negative and neutral things I have to say about the killer, but I do want to give props to the things that the devs did well, and there's actually quite a few of them this patch. First on my list of positives is how they somehow made a killer who's really good on a lot of the maps that other killers aren't. Midwich is a prime example because you can use this power to minimize Shift W gameplay and check the other floor without having to walk all the way to one of the corners to climb up or down. You can also use the chains to prevent survivors from leaving one room and getting into another's, in a surprising amount of rooms on that map. Also, being able to cancel the portal without attacking makes it double as a recon tool, which allows you to scout out generators and hiding spots without wasting the time of actually going all the way there. This might not sound like much, but there have been several times where this has let me get to a generator that I otherwise would not have been able to get to had I walked all the way to check the other generators first. And don't even get me started on controlling the chain. It's so reminiscent of using COD kill streaks like the Predator missile and or Valkyrie launcher, so it's really nostalgic and fun for me. The final thing I want to compliment is the animations. All his animations look sick, although his walk is kinda derpy, not gonna lie. And his window vault isn't the greatest too, but other than that, they're all really cool, they look nice. So overall, aside from the obligatory game-breaking bugs that come with every new killer, I think they actually did a pretty good job so far. And with all that said, happy hunting.